Terence "Bud" Crawford shocked the international through beating Canelo Alvarez, and for that nighttime of work, he pocketed a staggering $10 million. But this is the actual question. What did he do with it? Did Bud blow it on mansions and supercars? Did he spend money on gyms, businesses, or simply allow it take a seat down inside the financial institution? In this video, we discover the untold tale of Crawford's $10 million payday and the way it reshaped his empire forever. But first, we need to return to the start of his profession to recognize his courting with cash. Long before Terence "Bud" Crawford changed into a millionaire fighter, protecting belts throughout multiple weight divisions, he changed into only a child from Omaha, Nebraska, combating to survive. Born right into a hard environment, cash wasn't something that got here easily. Crawford has spoken approximately the struggles of developing up in a town that wasn't recognized for generating boxing champions, not to mention multi-millionaires. His family made ends meet. However, the luxuries we now companion with him, cars, houses, investments, have been unthinkable returned then. His advent to boxing got here now not as a course to riches, however as a manner to live out of problem and channel his aggression. In the one's early novice days, the rewards have been measured in medals and pride, now no longer cash. When he subsequently turned expert in 2008, his first handbags have been small. $800 here, $2,000 there. Even then, the assessments have been breakup with trainers, managers, and gyms. To a young fighter, the one's few hundred meant everything, but they were not wealth. They have been survival. Now, rapid ahead to 2024. The identical child, who as soon as scraped through on combat handbags slightly sufficient to pay lease, is the person who earned a $10 million payday for beating Canelo Alvarez. Imagine that transformation from counting each greenback in Omaha to seeing 8 figures land for your financial institution account. It's a bounce maximum cannot even process. And that is what makes Crawford's tale so compelling. That $10 million wasn't simply every other combat test. It changed into the ultimate image of the long way he'd come from the one's early days. But with it comes the big question. Does a person who as soon as valued each greenback spend freely now? Or does he defend that cash as cautiously as he courted his titles? Because what Crawford did with his $10 million payday cannot be understood without looking at the adventure that built him. By the mid-200s, Crawford had converted from a promising prospect into certainly considered one among boxing's maximum dominant forces. Winning his first international identify in 2014 towards Ricky Burns wasn't only a profession milestone. It changed into the start of actual cash getting into his existence. Suddenly, handbags climbed from 5 figures to 6, then into the low hundreds of thousands. For maximum combatants, it is already a dream. Crawford, it changed into simply the start. As he have become the undisputed champion at 140 pounds, unifying all 4 essential belts in 2017, his paydays meditated his status. Fights towards Julius Indongo, Victor Postel, and Jeff Horn noticed him command handbags inside the 3 to 4 million range, once in a while better with PPV bonuses. It changed into existence, converting cash, no doubt. But as compared to what changed into waiting while he fought Canelo, it changed into a fraction. Here's in which the perspective kicks in. Imagine constructing an empire slowly, cautiously stacking million, combat after combat, after which in a single nighttime making extra then double or triple your largest preceding perk. That's exactly what passed off while Crawford collected $10 million for defeating Canelo Alvarez. It wasn't only a payday, it changed into a financial earthquake. Of course, through this factor in his profession, Crawford changed into no stranger to spending. We noticed glimpses of luxurious cars, reviews of actual estate investments in Omaha, and whispers of commercial enterprise ventures. He wasn't reckless, however, he wasn't residing just like the hungry prospect who as soon as scraped through on $800 handbags either. The cash changed into flowing, and with every combat, Bud constructed a way of life that meditated each success and discipline. Still, even with hundreds of thousands already banked, the Canelo combat dwarfed them on homes, automobiles, jewelry, lifestyle. He invests into gyms, businesses, or assets. Or he saves, retaining it liquid, awaiting opportunity. So, some distance, Crawford hasn't flaunted his spending the manner a few opponents do. We do not see him continuously posting Lamborghinis or multi-million greenback watches on Instagram, but that does not imply he isn't always the usage of that $10 million strategically. Whispers endorse he is checked out, increasing his health club Nasium operations in Omaha, securing greater actual property, and upgrading his fleet of cards. After all, what is a $10 million win without celebrating it with as a minimum one dream buy? Still, the actual intrigue lies in how cautiously he has been with cash in the past. Bud has usually been referred to as a disciplined earner, a person who values economic safety as a great deal as his undefeated record, which makes this payday even greater fascinating. Does subject win again? Or did Crawford ultimately reduce free with the combat handbag that modified everything? Because one thing's certain, $10 million does not simply take a seat down there, it movements. And following wherein it movements is wherein the tale of Crawford's wealth receives interesting. When opponents hit the 8 determined mark, the first query enthusiasts usually ask is, did he purchase a mansion for Terence Crawford, who pocketed $10 million for beating Canelo Alvarez? Real property is one of the maximum herbal locations that cash ought to have gone. And in Crawford's case, there is already a history. Long before the Canelo combat, Crawford had invested in belongings in his fatherland of Omaha, Nebraska. Unlike many champions who moved to Los Angeles or Miami, Bud has usually saved his roots firmly in Omaha. He owns a big domestic inside the city, one that displays his status, however additionally his loyalty to the vicinity that made him. This residence isn't any normal suburban belongings. It's a mansion with masses of area for his family, education, and the lifestyle that includes being a rich person athlete. But the query enthusiasts ask now could be whether or not Crawford used a part of his $10 million Canelo paycheck to make bigger his actual property empire. Did he purchase additional homes in Omaha? Did he diversify into excessive V price markets like Las Vegas or Miami, wherein different opponents plant their fortune? Real property isn't always simply a luxury. It's additionally a long-time period asset that continues growing in price. For a person as disciplined as Crawford, this is exactly the form of circulate that makes sense. There have additionally been whispers of him looking into industrial homes, gyms, education centers, or maybe businesses tied to the community. If true, it shows that a part of his $10 million wasn't simply spent, however invested in something that ties immediately back to his legacy. Owning homes in Omaha does not simply make him cash, it makes him a everlasting determinant inside the city's growth. And yet, enthusiasts additionally speculate approximately upgrade. Did he purchase a new excursion domestic? A getaway mansion someplace some distance from Nebraska winters? With $10 million, the one's opportunities open instantly. Even a modest slice of that handbag ought to steady a 2 to 3 million luxurious belongings, leaving millions for different investments. What makes the actual property perspective so compelling is this: houses do not disappear, cars wreck down, watches fade from fashion. However, a mansion for your name, this is forever. Which way if Bud spent huge on belongings, part of that $10 million will usually be tied to something everlasting. But actual property, irrespective of how grand, does not flip heads the manner a glittery new automobile does. And when athletes have fun, a large payday, the storage is regularly the primary vicinity they upgrade. If actual property is the smart play, automobiles are the amusing play. And after banking $10 million for beating Canelo, enthusiasts could not assist, however marvel what is in Terence Crawford's storage now. Crawford has usually had a flavor for automobiles. Over the years, he has been visible with a variety of excessive overall performance rides, the form of automobiles that stability, speed, luxurious, and style. But with the Canelo payday, the opportunities spread out to an entire new degree. When you may twine transfer $200,000 without blinking, you're all at once looking. So, while we strive to hint in which Crawford's cash went, the motors become clues to how he perspectives his wealth. Did he splurge, or did he maintain lower back? Then there may be the jewelry perspective. With $10 million at the table, chains, watches, and clothier style are in no way far behind. Even a single Audemars pig watch or diamond chain ought to represent masses of heaps from that Canelo check. But this is the captivating thing. While Crawford enjoys luxury, he has in no way been as flamboyant as a number of his peers. He's now no longer Floyd Mayweather flashing a diamond-encrusted watch at press conferences. Which leaves the query, did he permit himself one or dream splurges with that $10 million? Or did he reinvest instead? Because at the same time as motors and chains snatch headlines, the actual tale of Crawford's cash may lie in his enterprise and investments. For Terence Crawford, the $10 million he earned in opposition to Canelo wasn't simply spending cash. It became seed cash. And if there may be one region in which Bud has been consistent, it is his preference to construct something lasting outdoor the ring. At the middle of that is B&B Sports Academy, his Omaha primarily based totally fitness center co-founded together, along with his longtime instructor, Brian Bullmarmack McIntyre. The academy isn't only a boxing facility, it's a community hub. It's in which neighborhood youngsters train, in which the following era of opponents gets molded, and in which Crawford invests immediately into his city. Fans believe that a part of his Canelo payday became funneled lower back into increasing or upgrading this facility, adding equipment, renovating space, or maybe obtaining extra residences to grow the emblem. But it really is now no longer all. Crawford has additionally been related to boxing promotions and business ventures tied to the sport, with $10 million with inside the bank. He all at once has the capital to behave now, no longer simply as a fighter, however as a promoter, a businessman shaping events, deals, and careers. Imagine Crawford, the use of a part of his handbag to signal prospects, increase his promotional reach, or construct partnership with streaming network. That's the kind of lengthy, time period imaginative and prescient that transforms a payday into generational wealth. Outside of boxing, hypothesis swirls around Crawford, exploring actual world investment, neighborhood corporations in Omaha, actual property projects, or maybe national possibilities like franchises. Many athletes diversify into restaurants, gyms, or emblem partnerships as soon as they hit 8 figures. Did Bud quietly position part of that $10 million into ventures that will hold paying him lengthy after he retires? Then there may be the silent funding category, stocks, bonds, or crypto. While Crawford does not advertise being a tech investor, it would not be unexpected if monetary advisors has endorsed him to park a number of that $10 million into greater conventional asset classes. It's now no longer flashy, however it is smart, and Bud has in no way been about useless flat. What makes the enterprise perspective compelling is this. Unlike motors or chains, investments create leverage. If Crawford positioned even 2 to 3 million of his Canelo handbag into enterprise, it can flip into $10 million greater over the following decade. But the query enthusiasts hold circling lower back to is this: did Crawford surely use his $10 million this way? Or did endorsements and his private emblem deliver the majority of his post-combat fortune building? Because if motors and houses display how he spends, endorsements display how he multiplied. Boxing handbags may also headline the tale, however endorsements inform the hidden chapters of an athlete's wealth. And while Terence Crawford defeated Canelo Alvarez and banked $10 million, his cost to manufacturers skyrocketed overnight. For years, Crawford have been certainly considered one among the sports activity's pound-for-pound kings. However, he lacked the mainstream highlight of opponents like Mayweather or maybe Canelo himself. That night, time modified everything. Endorsements in boxing are tricky. Unlike international sports activities like football or basketball, in which athletes see multi-million greenback shoe deals, boxing endorsements are regularly smaller and greater niche. But while you beat the face of boxing, sponsors noted, companies began attaching themselves to Crawford's call. Athletic garb manufacturers Sports Acti,